friends, this is Jeannie. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I thought I would share with you the process for making this heart-shaped explosion box that I recently made for my Girl Scouts. I actually made 25 of them. It was for my Girl Scouts plus 2 other troops that participated in a recent celebration that we organized to celebrate the girls for earning their silver award. This box certainly looks different than what I presented to them. This is the box after the fact. When I presented it to them, it was filled with all of their badges, all of their pins. That's why there's a little scuff mark right here on one of the little flaps, because I removed the pin that was there to put it on my kid's vest. But it was a fun presentation, and in the center I filled it with chocolates. Each of the little pockets had their badges, and the badges were adhered to these little kind of advice from cards. I found a series of these cards online. Advice from a trail, advice from a frog. They were just so fun. Advice from a cactus. And it goes on and on and on and on. Each box requires 5 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. So it was a great opportunity for me to use a lot of paper in my stash. After making 25 of them, I really thought I was over it. But here I am in my craft room, and I want to make another one. So I thought I would share the process with you. The one I'm going to make today is going to be more fun and more along the theme of a garden or a farm. What I am working with in terms of supplies is a bunch of cardstock from my stash and some printables. I have this farmhouse collection that has been in my stash for a good long bit. I love this paper because it's double-sided. You don't necessarily need double-sided paper to do this. All that really matters is that it's 12 by 12 in size. So I pulled some papers from this farmhouse kit. I also have this country kitchen paper pad. This is by Echo Park. I've had this for a long while too. I pulled, I think, at least one sheet. I liked this pull apart. It had this pull apart that I thought I might be able to use to decorate the outside of the box. I don't know yet, but that's all I pulled from there as far as I can remember. And then I also have this Micro Basics by Authentique, beautiful gingham papers. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So on the one side you have the pattern, and on the other side you have the solid. So I picked, I think, one. I went with that brown one. It worked well with all of my papers here. So really, like I said, use whatever papers you have. What matters is that you have 5 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. One of the sheets will make the lid. Another sheet will make the base and the box. And then the other 3 sheets we will cut to make the inserts, the pockets on the inside. Okay, so I think I covered everything. Before I continue, let me put out there that this is not my idea. You need only do a quick search here on YouTube for tutorials on how to make a heart-shaped explosion box, and you will get many. In fact, that is exactly what I did in order to figure out how to make these boxes. And I came across a tutorial, 7 years old, but still a fabulous tutorial. It is by Rahini's Creativity. So I will link the tutorial down below. I did simplify it a little bit so that it works better for me. I watched it several times before my mind can finally wrap itself around what she was doing. So this is going to be my process based on hers. Mine is slightly modified to make it easier for me. But if my tutorial doesn't work for you, or if you want to watch another video to supplement this one, I definitely recommend her channel. And again, I will link it down below. Whatever sheet you are going to use to make the base of your box, that is not going to get cut anymore. That is going to remain 12 by 12 in size. So for me, it's going to be this one. This is the base of my box. This one I'm not cutting anymore. 12 by 12 is the size we need. So one sheet of paper is going to stay 12 by 12. Another sheet is going to be cut to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Another is going to be cut to 11.5 by 11.5. And then the last sheet is going to be cut to 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. So in the end, what you will have is one sheet 12 by 12, one sheet 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, one sheet 11.5 by 11.5, and one sheet 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. Now we're going to get the scoreboard. If you're using single-sided paper, when making your score marks, you want the design side facing down. So you're going to be scoring the white side of the paper. Okay, pattern side goes down, and you're going to be scoring on the white side of the paper. If you do it that way, when you fold your paper at the score marks, then it should finish that the white is on the inside of the pocket and the pattern is on the outside. Okay, so I am going to start with the base of my box. That's the 12 by 12 sheet of paper. This is the pattern I want to appear on the outside of my box. This is the pattern I want on the inside of my box. I am going to put the pattern I want on the outside face down, and then I'm going to make score marks. I'm going to score this at 4. I'm going to turn the page 90 degrees, score it again at 4, rotate 90 degrees, score at 4, and do it one more time. Score. Okay, so again, score at 4, rotate, score at 4, rotate, score at 4, rotate. You're going to do it 4 times so that you score this paper at the 4-inch mark on all 4 sides. Okay? It's hard to see the score marks, but they are there. I'm going to take my bone folding tool. Really fold that paper. Have a nice crisp fold. Okay, this is what you have. Now, the 4 squares on the corner. So this square, this square, this square, and this square. You will need to score those as well. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use a straight edge because it's going to be near to impossible for me to get this on my scoreboard at this angle. And then you're going to score that corner box. And you're going to do the same with the other two boxes. You don't want to score that box in the center, just the four corners. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is use that same straight edge just to really get that fold in there. So these types of boxes are not difficult to make, I don't think. It just requires a lot of patience and a little bit of MacGyvering, because no matter how perfect your cuts are, your folds are, inevitably something is going to be a tiny bit off and you're going to just have to adjust on the fly. After making 25 of these, I don't think I made one single box that didn't require a little bit of adjusting after the fact to make sure it worked. Because even after cutting so many sheets of paper, for whatever reason, my cuts were always off a little bit here and there. So instead of being mad about it, I just, you know, adjust it. Okay? So there are my folds. Now that your base is scored and you reinforce those folds, make yourself a heart shape template that will fit on the corner boxes so that you can trace that heart shape. Now, what I find works easiest for me is, instead of tracing the entire shape and then cutting that shape, what's easiest for me is to just trace half the shape and fold that corner over, that corner box, that is, on that score line that we made earlier. And you have that heart shape. I'm going to do that for all four corners. I just think it's easier this way, but you do whatever works for you. And my hearts are not perfect, but it's handmade, not perfect. So now we have our heart-shaped corners. And when you fold everything in, this is the base of your box. Now, if you're going to distress your edges or ink your edges, I would say to you, this is probably the best time to do it. If you want to round your corners to make it look a little more finished, this is the time to do it. I want to round my corners, so I am going to do that now. That's just my preference. Archival. I'm going to use my Distress ink, and I'm going to use the color Ground Espresso. That is the finished base. So in the closed position, it will look like this. And once the lid is removed, in the open position, it will look like this. So next, let's make the inserts for the explosion box. Back to my scoreboard. I now have the paper that I cut to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. I want this side of the paper to be the design on the outside of the little pockets. So I am going to put that side down. I am going to score at 4, rotate, score at 4, rotate, score at 4, and then rotate one final time and score at 4. Then I am going to score each of these corner boxes, but this time I am going to score 1/4 of an inch in from the edge of that corner box. So here's that corner box now. I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch and score, making sure just to score that box. So I'm going to stop at that score mark that's going across and just come down to that line. And I'm going to do that for each of the corners. So again, I'm coming in 1/4 of an inch. If you want to count from left to right, I'm scoring at the 11.5 mark. Okay, this is 11 3/4. I'm scoring at 11.5. I'm going to go in with my bone folder and really press those folds. Okay, next we need scissors, because what we need to do now, boy, and this is going to be difficult for me to see with this pattern paper, but we're going to cut the 4 corners to create this flap. You see that? Rotate, make that same cut, rotate, and then do that one more time. Hard to see, goodness gracious, hard to see. But now what you are left with are flaps on all 4 corners of your page. And at this point is when I test whether or not my lines are straight. So you want to make sure that flap, the top of that flap, lines up with the top of the square next to it. So if it's a little crooked, this is the time just to go in and make sure that your top edges are matching up, because this top edge is going to create that pocket. Okay, and then that 1/4 inch score you made, you're going to fold that in, burnish that as well, bring it over, because that little flap right there is where you're going to put your glue to adhere it to the square next to it and create the pocket. Don't worry if the flap is a little shorter than the paper behind it, because we will come back with a pair of scissors and trim that off. That is what I mean when I say you will be making little kind of tweaks here and there, MacGyvering along the way, just to make sure it looks pretty, because I don't know, maybe you will do a better job than I do when it comes to cutting and measuring, because no matter how hard I try, my cuts and measurements are always slightly off. Sometimes they're a lot off. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. But I find if you understand why you're doing certain steps and what you're trying to achieve in doing that step, you can better improvise when it's not going exactly the way you want it to, or if your measurements are a little off. Okay, the goal here is to create these 4 pockets, right? 4 pockets, and you also want it to look pretty. So instead of getting upset that, oh my gosh, my top cut is short, that's fine. Glue the flap down and then come back and cut off that excess. It'll look fine. Nobody will know. Nobody will care. Nobody's going to comment. Okay? So it is what it is. So I'm going to take my wet glue. I have some clips. I'm going to use my clips to keep that pressed together while I move on to the next flap. And I'm going to do this for each of the flaps. I'm just thinking what I didn't do and what I should have done, and I'll do it on the next one, is I didn't miter the corners of the flap. The little lip on the flap there, I didn't miter it, but that's okay. We'll do that on the next one. This glue dries relatively quickly, but I still like to give it some time. Now you see this excess here? You want to trim that off. Being careful, very careful not to cut that flap, because you'll open your flap again. Don't cut the pocket. You're just cutting off that excess so that all you have is the pocket. And if you're better at measuring than I am, you might not have to do this. But I find I have to do this a lot. But that's okay. This is why I say take your time. Don't be afraid to MacGyver if things don't go exactly as planned, or if your cuts are a little off. I think Rahini had the same problems in her make, but she didn't. I think that part was edited out, but there were a few times in the video where you can see she was making extra cuts that she wasn't explaining, and I think it was her just trimming away excess the way I am. So you see, happens to all of us. Okay, so there you have 4 pockets. Now you could put glue along the bottom to seal the pocket on the bottom. I don't feel it's necessary, but if you feel like whatever you put in there can potentially slide out from the bottom, feel free to do that. I just didn't. In fact, you know, maybe I will do that, and you could do that. It's not a big deal. Just a little line of glue. No big deal. Only because I didn't do it in the last one. No harm in doing it now. There were a lot of little details I didn't get to do for the makes I did for my Girl Scouts, simply because there were so many of them. I had to start cutting corners and cutting steps and details out so that I can get them all done on time. And you had to find that right balance, cut out enough steps so that you're able to complete all of them on time, but not too many that it compromises the aesthetic of the project. So I found by cutting some of the steps out, like rounding the corners, inking the edges, it saved me a lot of time, and the project still turned out well. So this is what this looks like. At this stage, if you want to again ink your edges, this is probably the best time to do it. Since I am going to ink my edges, I'm going to do that now. I do plan on rounding the corners, but what I find, sometimes if the glue is not completely dried, especially on the edges, you know, where you applied that glue, it's not going to play nice with your corner rounder. It's going to muck up your corner rounder. So you have to give it time to dry. Or just save the step of rounding the corners for much later. I'm going to do it now only because I want to ink it now. You can also, if you want, create a little bit of a thumb notch here. You can create a thumb notch to make it easier to reach whatever is in here. And in fact, I think I'm going to do that just because I didn't get to do it in the last one. I want to do it here. I'm going to create a little bit of a thumb notch. Try to center that. There you go. That looks cute. I didn't get to do that for the last one. Now, if you're a little OCD about things lining up, you might want to skip creating these notches, because odds are all your notches are not going to line up. They're going to be a little off. So I do this at my own risk. I might drive myself cuckoo later and regret doing this, but for now, I did it. I did it. Now, apparently I didn't round these corners here. And maybe you don't want to do this if you're using single-sided paper and you don't want to see the white on the inside. But in my case, I have pattern paper on the inside, so I am going to create the notches so that I can see that pattern paper. I am going to use my little dauber here to get into these notches. So that is what that looks like. Inside of the box, it looks like this. So if you find you only want 4 pockets, then certainly stop here and just skip ahead and do the lid. If you want 8 pockets, then move on to the next step where you use the next sheet of paper. But it's all about what you need. I am going to make all of the pockets the way I originally planned, because that's what I said I would do. But the good thing about this project is that it's you can fit it to whatever your needs are. If 4 pockets work for you, you're done. You can fill the middle with whatever, make your lid, decorate your box. But if you need more pockets, continue along. I have my scoreboard again. I have the 11.5 by 11.5 sheet of cardstock. We're going to go through that same process of scoring at 4, rotate, 4, rotate, 4, rotate, and then 4. And remember, because I want this pattern to be on the outside of the little pocket, I have it facing the scoreboard. So I think with this solid color you can better see my score lines. Okay, and now for each of these 4 corners, because these 4 corners are going to create that flap, right? That's going to come over to create that pocket. This time I'm going to score each of those boxes a ½ inch in, from the edge, or just go to the 11 and score just the corner box. You don't want to score all the way down, just that corner box. Okay, you can do that for all 4 corners. Right there at the 11. Right there at the 11, right? Paper is 11.5 inches long or wide. You're going to come in ½ an inch. That puts you at the 11. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely easier to see on the solid paper. So now, same process we did for that first sheet. Cut, create that flap, and you're going to do that for each of the corner squares. So this is what you have when you fold that in. You want to make sure your top edges line up. Burnish the paper. This one lined up pretty well. This is how I check. Check as I go. Make any adjustments as I go. Okay. So now that score that we made on the flap, you're going to fold that in. Test. Make sure. That's pretty good. That works well. At this point, I think I can make these boxes in my sleep. I tell you, Rahini's video is fantastic. You know, there were a couple of areas where I had to watch the video a couple of times to really get a understanding of why she was doing what she was doing. But other than that, and I mean, those moments were few and far in between. Her video is just perfect. This time I'm going to remember to just miter those corners of that flap. Just to have a little less bulk on the corners of the pockets. I think I'm working on autopilot from when I was making these for my girls. So I have to get out of the mindset that, oh my God, I have 25 of these to make. was a fun project. I'm glad I did it. In hindsight, maybe a little too, it was a little much for the numbers I was working with and the time I had to get it all done. It was stressful. It really was. I work a full-time job. Very high stress, fast paced job. So, and I was on work deadlines at the same time that I was trying to get all this done. So it was really stressful. Didn't get much sleep that week. I really didn't. And here again, you see how I have some extra there? I'm just going to trim that off. Being careful not to cut the pocket. So this is the flap. Did I get all the... Yeah, I think I did. I got them all. So let's put this in here. Here it is. And how cute. So far, very cute. Get my little stylus here. And you guessed it, we're going to do that 4 all around. This is the 11 1/4 by 11 1/4 sized sheet of cardstock. All right. So there's the 4 all around. And this time we are going to come in 3/4 of an inch from the edge. So that will put you in, that will put you at the 10 1/2 for the score. 10 1/2, okay? 10 1/2. And remember, you're scoring only up to the score line that goes across that box right below. Okay? 10 1/2. Now, even stripes, thinking about this, I'm going to talk it through with you. Stripes could potentially make a person crazy too, because on some of the pockets, the stripes are going to have a vertical up and down, right? And on a couple of the boxes, it's going to be a cross. So if that bothers you, that your stripes aren't all going in the same direction, then maybe don't have the stripe pattern on the outside, okay? I'm thinking about it. I'm starting to rethink whether I want that stripe is going to bother me, so I'm going to do a reverse. I'm going to do a reverse and just score the other way. I didn't think that one through until just here and now. So I'm going to wing it and flip, and the stripes are going to go on the inside. I can't have stripes going in 2 different directions. That's too much for me. Oh, that's too much for me. Okay, it is going to, let's see. It's going to change things up a little bit, but not too much. We're going to make it work. All right. So we're going to cut those corners. I really shouldn't fuss about the stripes, right? Like, who cares? Who cares? I shouldn't care. But I do. I think this is going to be a long video, and I hope that's okay. Long videos seem to be the trend right now on YouTube. And at first I didn't get it, but I actually get it now. I enjoy those 40-minute, 50-minute long videos, especially when it's somebody just like creating and it's kind of like a craft with me type situation. Man, those are awesome. I watch those at night when I'm going to bed. They help me sleep. Not that it's a sleepy, uninteresting video, but I usually get, no, you know, it's like a lullaby for me. I listen to the person as they're crafting. And you know what the best thing about falling asleep is? Well, oh, that's not my tip. While watching those videos is I wake up the next morning and I watch it again. So you get 2 views from me. So I definitely help with the view counts, that's for sure. Because I am genuinely interested in watching the video. And at night is usually the only time I get to watch my favorite crafters here on YouTube. So y'all get to talk me to sleep. And then when I wake up, I watch you all over again. All right, I think that's done. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, for sure the solid was the way to go. Look at that. Okay. So here are all the different layers together to create that exploding element. And here you have your heart shapes. Now at this point, what you want to do is just attach everything. So working from the bottom up, a little bit of glue in the middle. Don't go crazy. A little bit of glue. Work fast, so you don't want that glue to set. And then close your box and everything, like just a little bit of tap will align everything perfectly. A little bit of pressure there. And your box is secured. How cute is that? I love the inking. Fun. So that is your base. I love the little thumb notches. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the top for this box. For the top, we have our 12 by 12 sheet of paper. This is the top of the box. This is what I want to see. So I am going to turn this over and do my markings on this side. Okay, 3, 6, and 9. Remember those numbers because you're going to mark each side of this page. You're going to make 3 marks. Those marks are going to be at the 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, 9. Rotate. Three, 6, 9. Rotate. So now each side is marked 3, 6, and 9, and now we're going to connect all of these ticks, right? So 3 and 3 we're going to connect. Straight line across. All right? 6. And 6. Connect. And then 9. And 9. We're going to connect. Okay. Going to rotate your paper. You're going to do it again. 3. 6. 'And don't freak out about these lines. You won't see them once your box is folded. So this is what it'll look like. It looks a little crazy right now, but I'm going to make it make sense. Okay? I know it looks wild right now. Now that we have all these lines, we are going to go ahead and fold or score along those lines. This is when a nice straight edge comes in handy, because I am just going to use my ruler and press along those folds against my ruler using my bone folder to help fold that paper. You could first score along those lines using the stylus and the straight edge, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip that step. So then the next step you want to do, you see these 4 boxes, this one, can you see them? This box here, this box here, this box here, this box here. You are going to score all 4 of those boxes. And you're going to score out to the edge. See what I'm doing? These 4 corners, I'm scoring those boxes on the diagonal. And then you want to fold that in. Okay, just to kind of reinforce that fold. So now we have to start folding in some flaps in order to create that box shape. First thing we're going to do is we're going to fold in and glue down all of the corner flaps, okay? We're going to glue the next flap down. On opposite sides. So we're going to do that. Put glue here. And do that. Okay. that's what we have so far. Now next, we are going to glue this area and this area. We're not going to put glue here in the center box, but we're going to put glue everywhere else around it. So that's going to fold in like that. Over like that. It's a lot of layers of paper here. So I'm going to really work that. And I'm not worried that this cardstock is cracking a little bit. I mean, I am working it pretty hard, but I'm not too worried about that because I am going to, again, ink those edges. I just want to make sure that the folds are nice, clean, and crisp. And we're going to do the same on this side. That just went in perfectly. Okay, and here is the moment of truth. Does it fit the box? Yes, it does. Perfectly. Check that out. That is the finished box. How cute is this? And when you open it up, I think this is so fun. So fun. So fun. So now that I have my box made, the next step is going to be to decorate the box. And I think this is good for now. I think I'll do the decorating of the box in a separate video. So thank you, my friends, for joining me and tolerating my chaotic process. I truly do appreciate you. I will catch you all in the next video, my friends. Until next time. Bye-bye.